It's an amazing, amazing and moving story. They say the tallest man is the one who stoops very low to help those in need. And they also say, if you want to know you're great, when you go out there and help those who can't help themselves and not expect anything in return. An amazing story right there. Many thanks for joining us. Time for that big debate, and I'm joined in studio to discuss further about the plight of the child. According to those statistics, over 100 million street children in the world, quite worrying there. And of course, joining me in studio to discuss this on my immediate left, the man himself, that's Dr. Charles Muli of Muli's Children Family. Welcome to the program tonight.
Thank you.
Well done. And I'm also joined on my immediate right by Prophetess Purity Echakara from God's Kingdom General Assemblies.
Good evening, viewers.
Indeed, welcome. And of course, joined by Pastor Mark Echakara as well from the same congregation, that's God's Kingdom General Assembly. Thank you and welcome to the program tonight.
Good evening, viewers.
Indeed, there you have it, focus on the plight of the child. I will engage you in a bit, but first things first, focusing on the plight of the street children. Dr. Mark, going by what you've just seen there, a man, or Dr. Charles Muli, a man of great heart. We want to go to the background and dig further. What was the inspiration for you to come up with a family that caters for street children?
Yeah, thank you. It was way back in the year 1986, and I came to the city of Nairobi. And during that time, it was in April, and then I was coming to do business in the city of Nairobi at Nyayo House. And when I arrived there, I found a big gang of street boys. Those days we used to call them parking boys. And then they came around me, they asked me if I could give them money. And then I said, no, I can't give you. And so I left them for a little while. I came about 35 minutes, only to find that my car was not there. So these young people organized about the stealing of my car. So that was a turning point when I found that this street kid had stolen my car, and I reported the matter to the police station. Up to now, I've never heard about it. And so from that year, 1986, to the year 1989, when I started the ministry, I felt like, wow, I never gave them something, even bread. And I, myself, I was a victim of circumstances that I lacked food and during my young, time of living when I was young. And so that was how it started.
Going by your background, you used to be a street child as well.
Indeed, there were no street children those days, but I was, if it were to be compared by now, that would be like that. Because of course I had no people to support me during that time. Especially food was really a big problem to get food, education, as well as other things.
That particular experience that you had when your car was stolen, and going by your background, if you were to use that today's terms, then you would have been a street child. Had you forgotten where you had come from at that particular juncture when the parking boys, as you said, were asking for food in exchange for them looking out for your car? Had you for a moment forgotten your background?
I would say yes, because if I remembered, I had remembered how I suffered and how life was too hard for me, I would have really given them something. However, even, I thought giving them money was to encourage them to buy drugs or, sniffing glue and many other things. And so that was one point. But on the other hand, I would have really done something for them, for their stomach. And I understood really the problem and the feeling of a street child, and I didn't really help them by then.
Muli's children, a family with over 2,500 children right now. We should be focusing on how you take care of these children. But allow me to bring into this conversation Pastor Mark and Prophetess Purity. The statistics are crazy. 100 million street children. What is the ideal setup of bringing up the children? What are some of these factors that are as a result of having so many street children? We can start with you, Prophetess.
Okay, thank you, Kago. In my view, I feel the main reason why we have so many street children is as a result of broken marriages, we find that the current situation, many people really don't uphold the marriage institution and the family institution. Previously, when people got married, people really upheld the institution of marriage. It just didn't matter the circumstances, but the moment you got married, society knew you were married, and even the clan, and it was their responsibility to even take care of the children, whether they are their brother's children or their sister's children. But now, it is a marriage, children is a personal issue, and people walk in and out of marriage just depending on their emotions, situations. They really don't look at it like it's a permanent commitment, like it's a covenant. And because of that, people are not taking marriage and family with the seriousness that ought to be.
Pastor Mark, what is the seriousness that ought to be then in such a setup?
Well, as a pastor, I would very easily fall back to the Bible. Marriage was first instituted by God himself. And he said, for that reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother, and he shall cleave to his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. And that is where it all begins. That's where marriage begins. They all become one flesh. But now, I think that has become more like a mirage. You know, it's lost. It is lost. It's like a pin that is lost in the hay. Because there are so many things that are informing society today. There is exposure to media, and people are getting so many different schools of thought about marriage that, just as my wife said, they no longer see it as a covenant and an institution that they need to safeguard. And that is where it all begins.
And that's the genesis. Let's engage Dr. Muli, because you first-hand deal with these children. You started with 3, right now over 2,500. And these are children from different backgrounds. What is your experience with these children? And why do you think there's so many street children?
One of the big reasons is about, as Pastor has said, that the broken families, and they were the love of God, the love of children, wives and husbands, that they have quarrels and they don't sit down to reason out together as a family. That's, of course, one of the contribution. And however, the other is about the whole family, in a family, whereby if you lose a mother or a father, and then these kids are left in the hands of grandmothers or uncles or aunts, they manipulate them. They try to even get all what is there, which was really left behind by their parents. So not only the broken families, but also the aspect of carelessness and the loss of that unity that African people and the Christian used to have, that love of family is no longer there, because there are many things that people are focusing on. And so that's one. Number 2 is the wave, of course, way back when I started the ministry, there was HIV. That was really completely doing away, destroying the lives of people. People died, and all these kids were left in the hands of people who were not ready to help, but only to misuse, abuse those kids, and that made them to run again to the street.
Now, apart from HIV and AIDS, what are some of the backgrounds that these children who come to come from, apart from that particular setup?
Yeah, of course, we have so many different kind of backgrounds of these children. One being orphans, pure, total orphan, no father, no mother. And with those one, then you find that the whole family, grandfather, they are also very poor, which means that also poverty has contributed so much to many families and many children to run to the street to get help. And so if I come back again to where I was speaking about the aspect, what are all those things that made them to go to the street? One, again, is about the broken family, that there is a father, there is a mother, and then there is a greed. Then they start fighting. And then they separate, of course. They divorce. And out of that, some of these children, because they come from very poor families, then and a poor background, they find their way to the street. So that's one way, and one thing that is really too much in our country: poverty, then broken families, then those who have really died and they have left their children.
All right. We shall be focusing on the broken families not too long as I engage my guests in studio. If you're just joining us, need to let you know we're focusing on the plight of the child, joined in studio by Dr. Charles Muli of the Muli Children's Family. So joining us in studio is Prophetess Purity Echakara and her husband, Pastor Mark Echakara from God's Kingdom General Assemblies. And tonight we ask your thoughts on the issue of the children in the modern society. Do you think the parents are responsibly taking that role, God-given role, the way they should? Are they taking care of the children? A whole lot of responses coming through. Feel free to drop us an SMS. Our SMS number is 20511. That's 20511. My Twitter handle is at John Cargo KBC, or at Ron Clifford Dit, or at Cargo KBC. Just to quickly sample some of your responses coming through as we continue with the interview today. I have a whole lot of responses coming through. Let's quickly sample some of those responses. A whole lot of your responses coming in Kiswahili. We shall be sampling them as I wait for my gadget to open up these responses. All right, my director tells me it's all right. All right, then, as we wait for this gadget to open up, Pastor Mark, yes. Broken families, and according to what Dr. Charles Muli says, is one of the reasons why we're having all these street children. What happens when a family breaks and there are children involved? Let's look at the plight of these children. What should happen next?
Well, let me not start with the plight of the children, but the broken families first, because what I believe is that when families break up and children are involved, first of all, I take it as a very selfish act on the part of the parents, because one, they don't stop for a moment to think about the consequences of their actions and how their actions are going to affect their children in the long run. Secondly, they are not considering the fact that these children are not yet prepared psychologically to carry the weight of the decision that they make to part ways. And so that is selfishness on the part of the parents. So we cannot really blame the children. The parents must be ready to take responsibility. This, I believe, begins with the parents. The problem of the children, rebellion, and all that is happening in our society is secondary. But the primary thing is the parents who are not in touch with the consequences of their actions. That's where it all begins. Yeah.
Prophetess Purity, are modern families then becoming responsible in taking care of these children?
Modern families?
Modern parents.
Modern parents.
A modern setup. Do you think they are becoming responsible, not taking this duty as they should?
Of course, it's a responsibility on their part. As a parent, how do you give birth to your child and you are not able to take care of the child? Because I personally believe the way our brother Dr. Muli has said, it is all about love. You know, you can be poor, but if you have love in your heart, you can keep the family together. You can have issues between husband and wife, but if you have love in your heart, you will really be able to forgive and solve matters. And when I talk about love, because love is relative, I'm talking about the agape, the unconditional love of God. That's the kind of love that I'm speaking about, because even as parents, most of us, even when we enter into marriage, it is sad to say, but that's the truth on the ground. We don't look at people through the eyes of love. You find that modern people, when it comes to marriage and courtship, they put priorities wrong. They really even don't talk about the children and the future, what it holds for them. Most of them, it is about material things, and that's why when they can't cope, they don't care about the children. They really don't care about the children. And I say it is an irresponsibility and it is selfishness, because when you part as a couple, one thing you should realize is that these children are connected to both of you. As much as you may have issues with your spouse, the children all carry your blood and your DNA. So sometimes it is selfish when we want to engage the children in our battles, and that's when the children end up being the losers. Because when two bulls fight, it is the grass that suffers.
And it's good you say that, because going by the responses that you're receiving tonight, someone used those same lines, because we've been seeking your responses or your thoughts really on discussion tonight, and a whole lot of thoughts coming through. Let me just sample some of those responses. Lois Ngugi says, Fahari, wawili wakipigana, Nyasi who made exactly what you just said, saying, making our towns filled with street children and increased child employment. Robert Kemeli says, watoi hubaki desperate, now mapero wakiwa zao, and not think about the kid. So basically Robert says the children are left desperate as the parents go about their business, not really caring about the children. Robbie Baba says, no, we've got a Swahili saying, mti mkuu ukigwa wana wandege huyumba, saying let's respect each other in the family for the sake of our siblings. Of course, continue sharing those responses tonight as we focus on the plight of the family, joined in studio by Dr. Charles Muli of the Muli Children's Family, Prophetess Purity Echakara, and Pastor Mark Echakara from God's Kingdom General Assembly. So back to Dr. Charles Muli. You decided to call this a family, not just a home. There's a common term, there's a children's home. Why a family?
Family has got more meaning than a home. Because when you talk about family, it's about everything, caring about everything, caring about everybody around and within. And therefore, I decided not to call it Muli Children's Home, but Muli Children's Family. Because we are catering, and I cater for all types of children, girls, boys, and then again, the community around us, and all the people within MCF.
How has been your experience? You started with 3, now over 2,500. You sold all your businesses to go ahead and do this. And I was just reading your profile here. At one point, you contemplated suicide. How's the journey been for you?
Well, that journey has not been really easy because we are talking about children who are not biologically belong to you. We are talking about extended family. We are talking about children with all this kind of problem, stigma, and then trauma, and all kind of exposed problem, especially abused kids, sexual abuse girls, and all type of children. And then coming to Muli Children Family with all this problem, and that their mind is not there, their heart is not there, and then you give them that opportunity to become members of the Muli Children Family. It has never been easy. It has been very tough. But as my friend said that the greatest is love. You know, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, then verse 6 and onward. It means that when you have that love, and this love must come from above, that you can love somebody whom you are not related, that you can extend that help, support to somebody who will never help you. It means that you support a child, a boy, a girl who will never pay you back even a single cent. We are talking about somebody who is not paying school fees, who is not supporting himself in the family, because we are family. So that has been a great challenge to be there. But through the love of God and the art that God put into my heart and the burden and the vision that God gave me, we have been working together, not only myself, but with my wife, very close to me, and also my biological children, also working alongside with us. Yes, so that has been a long...
Indeed, a family with a big heart. Grace says, kudos to you, you're doing a fantastic job, but wonders how you're able to do this. You solo your businesses. Are you able to sustain this?
Right. Way back, as I was going on with this new work, I started thinking about entrepreneurship. I am an entrepreneur myself, and that's why even I rose when I was only 19 years and I started doing business in 21, and then went on and up to the age of 40 years, that I had accumulated, a lot of wealth through business that I was doing. And through the transport business and the distribution of tires and gas and motor components and accessories, all these. And I sold all these. So I had that spirit, I had that mind. And when I started this one, I said, I would not like to beg people. I would not like to tell people, either go to the churches or anywhere to ask people to support me. It would be a big shame. I like supporting myself. And so one way I came up with the sustainability program. And way back over the last 25 years, that when I started that in a big way, because we do irrigation, we have our farming, and we support all these children. And therefore, with that sustainability program has been one. However, people saw this Dr. Charles Muli is doing something. He is not coming to ask us about money. It's a real business about children. And so people started coming alongside, supporting the work. And with the support, the sustainability program going on, we have been able to
absolutely.
move.
That's a model even for many children's homes that they need to do instead of just waiting for handouts from other people, sustainability. I mean, there's a lot clearly they can learn from Dr. Charles Muli. I'm sure you're running out of time, so some final thoughts, Prophetess Purity. What's the way forward? What do you need to do as a family so that we can bring up our children the way we should?
I think families should return back to God. That's all I can say, because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom and knowledge and understanding. And the Bible says that train up a child in the way that he should go. And when he grows up, he will never depart from it.
Indeed. Pastor Mark, any final thoughts?
Well, my wife has captured it very well. But I also want to say that it is important for parents to know their responsibility. It is important for them to know how far they should take these jokes of just breaking up families arbitrarily, just because you feel the other person, 20 years in marriage and you part ways, you say, I don't think this man is good enough for me. At 45 years, you start running around and doing funny things to make yourself relevant, competing with young children, girls, your age, is unreasonable. I think people must, as my wife has said, the fear of God. People must return to that place and know that families were instituted by God and they should be there to stay. They should be there for the long haul.
All right,
those
thanks.
are my parting shots.
Can I just interject?
Well, why not? Actually, it's a good thing because I've just been added more time on my director. Feel free to just
And you see,
join the conversation here.
you know, some of you may say some of these girls are single parents, some of them are just street children born out of wedlock. But you see, it all begins with the family, because now if you're a man at, let's say, you're divorcing your wife at 45 years, most of the time it's for selfish reasons. You end up getting another young girl who is maybe 20 or 25 years. By the time they get children, even to become teenagers, maybe you'll be in your 60s or 70s. It adds another problem. And at that point, you are not able to even relate to the children, because family is really not about money. It is about love. And many of the parents, especially these modern parents, they've been absentee parents. They think like if they take their children to the best schools, they leave them with television, the latest gadgets, they feel that the child should appreciate. Parents need to understand that children need to be loved. Even those street children that we call rebellious, most of them it is because they were never loved. And I as a pastor, I will never blame children. Children are what they've been made to be. Children can never grow up knowing how to hate. Children never grow up knowing how to be rebellious. And I just want to salute my brother, Dr. Muli, for the work that you're doing, because family is where you belong. Fathering a child and bringing the child to the world doesn't make you a father. A father is the one that loves and takes care of you and makes provision for you. And that is the problem that we've been having in Kenya.
Indeed.
Just to say something, you know, when you were talking earlier to Dr. Ari, you mentioned something about him contemplating suicide at
Yeah,
some
way
point
back
time.
in life, just reading his profile, he was so desperate and he felt like he had come to the end of the world.
Yeah, sure. Because I actually remember in the Bible when Moses was given the responsibility to take the children of Israel out of Egypt to the promised land, at some point in time he staged a protest in the middle of the wilderness and told God, surely God, this is not fair. Are these my children? Did I bear them from my own bowels, my own loins, that you caused me to carry the whole weight? That is actually how he feels. And he said, it is difficult sometimes to redent these children. Not because it is their problem, but because they have been victims of circumstances at various points in time. Some of them find it difficult to trust. They find it difficult to believe that anybody means good. And it takes time. And because there are many children involved, you really have to be patient. And sometimes your patience is stretched, and that is what happens. And again, just as my wife said, Dr. Muli, you know, you are the extension of God. The Bible says that God is the father to the fatherless. And because God will not come down here to build children's families like yours, he will give you long life. He will, to make sure that those children have a father because they don't have one. You are like God in their lives. You are the extension of God. And because of that, you will never lack. Because it's not your responsibility. You are just an agent used by God. So God will empower you. You will never lack. You will never struggle. Your children will not die prematurely. Your children will not be rebellious. Your children's children will not get lost because you picked somebody whom you did not know. And you made them, you gave them a sense of belonging in society. So God richly bless you so much.
Indeed, in our country, I have 32 tribes represented in the Muli children family out of 42 tribes. And with the great love, those children call me Daddy, and they call my wife Mommy Muli. And therefore, with that, then we feel that is exactly how we need to respond to children who does not really belong to us. And what I would little appeal to the whole nation, our country, is that the boundaries about loving ourselves and be selfish, that should be out of people if we want to make this country grow and have good generation for our future. We need to help all the children, regardless of where they come from, in the street, orphans, thieves, because I also have thieves. I get some children right from the prisons and bring them to our place, girls, boys, and all that.
Indeed.
And therefore, I would say that and I would like to appeal and say, we need to extend this love to all members of the community, the children's there, and bring them in the best way. Feed them, medical care, spiritual nourishment, and again, education. We have also 100 children in Nairobi and all over the country, and we educate them because we want them to be the best, to be self-sufficient.
Well said, Dr. Charles Muli. We indeed do salute you for an amazing work you're doing. Pastor Mark also, of course, appreciating you and wishing you God's blessings. I think it's that point when you say amen to that.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Absolutely. I have 20 seconds only before I all right, many thanks. You have a quick one in 20 seconds?
No, what I want to say is that each and every one of us must be ready to take responsibility in our own small way. We might not be able to do the big thing that our brother is doing, but in our own little way, we must take responsibility in our own environment.
Absolutely. Take responsibility is what we need to do. There you have it, run out of time. An amazing conversation we're having here on the plight of the children. Who takes care of these children, the street children, when families break up. And Prophetess Purity saying indeed we need to be responsible. It's so selfish of the parents to not take care of their children. Many thanks indeed for the responses that have been coming through. And of course, we do appreciate to be sampling some at the end of this live newscast. That puts a cap on our debate this Sunday. Much appreciated. We take a quick breather. Indeed, you're watching Channel 1 Weekend, the Sunday edition. We're back in a moment.